I am Jen Herman. I am going to be talking to you today about optimizing your Instagram profile to Realtor. Now, we do have 3 sessions scheduled today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, and these are all going to build on each other. So there's probably a lot of things we are not going to talk about today that you're like, oh, I have questions. But don't worry, we will get to all of those things over the next couple of days. We're focusing today on optimizing your profile. And this is important because if we get your profile set up in all the right way, when we create the content and do everything that we talk about the next 2 days, everything kind of builds on itself. Everything will work for you almost on autopilot. Now, you still have to do things, but if your profile isn't optimized, you have to work twice as hard to get that traffic, to get people to gain that follower and that sort of additional level work. So we're starting today with that profile to make sure you've got everything optimized so that it runs seamlessly when we get into more of the content stuff that we're going to talk about over the total of 3 days. We'll still talk content today, but I want to make sure that we're setting those foundations for you. So for those of you who may not be familiar with me, my name is Jen Herman. I am the world's forefront blogger on Instagram marketing. I pretty much live, eat, sleep, breathe Instagram. Most people know me around the social media sphere for Instagram marketing. I do work with businesses of all sizes. I work with a lot of real estate professionals. I've spoken at NAR, I've spoken at CAR, I've spoken for Century 21 in Canada. I've spoken to a variety of other real estate conferences, and I have a number of real estate clients as well, mostly around the realm of Instagram, but also on things like Facebook and even, social media strategy in general. So I understand where you're coming from. And I used to live in Orange County. We were talking in the green room before. I actually lived in Orange County for a few years. So I understand, I get where you're coming from. I'm in San Diego now, but still come up there regularly. So we're going to talk about the things that matter to you as a real estate professional in Orange County and how you can do things maybe a little bit more or a little bit differently than what you were doing before to help you get the better results when it comes to your overall marketing efforts on Instagram. So first, before we dive into anything, I do just want to point out, I'm going to touch aside in just a second. I do want to point out, if you have any questions, I will take all the questions at the end. It'll just be super easy for us to just power through and get through all of these slides. So if you have questions, drop those in the chat. And then we will compile those and we'll grab all those questions at the end if you have any questions as we go. And again, if there's anything that I know will be addressed the next day or two, we'll leave those for when we cover those topics. All right, so the power of Instagram. One of the things people almost always ask me is, why Instagram? Why not another platform? Or why should Instagram be my focus? And there's a lot of reasons. And there are a lot of other platforms that work as well. But I love Instagram, especially in the real estate space, for a few reasons. One thing is, with over 1 billion monthly active users, we know it's over 1 billion. Instagram hasn't given us a fresh update on actual user counts in a very long time, but we know it's over 1 billion. Your audience is on Instagram. They are there. Maybe there's more of them on LinkedIn. Maybe there's more of them on Facebook, but they are on Instagram, and we just have to find the right way to connect with them. It's also worth pointing out that the target age demographic for home buyers and sellers is the second largest demographic on Instagram. So the largest demographic on Instagram is going to skew a little bit younger. You're looking at kind of that, 20 to 30 range is probably the largest demographic, even up to 35. But that second largest demographic on Instagram is the 35 to 50 year old demographic. That's the second largest. That means there's a lot of people on Instagram that are in that optimum range for buying and selling. People that are in that bracket have the careers, the stability, the families, those stages of their life where they're ready to buy and sell homes, and they are active on Instagram. So if they're there, probably something you should be considering. Also, users spend an average of 53 minutes a day on Instagram. That's nearly an hour a day that they are scrolling through Instagram where they could be catching your content. So we want to make sure that you're putting your stuff there so that people can see it. One of my favorite reasons for loving Instagram for business of any size or any type, any industry, but also in the real estate space, is that traffic from Instagram has the lowest bounce rate of all social media. So when it comes to a bounce rate, that is when someone comes to your website and they immediately leave. High bounce rates are bad. It means everyone that comes to your website is leaving the moment they get there. That comes from junk traffic, clickbait type titles on things. It happens on a lot of social media because you're scrolling and you kind of fat thumb, or you click on something when your screen froze in that place and you didn't want to click on it. And it creates these high bounce rates. It's junk traffic that's not converting. But on Instagram, because you have to work to get them to that link in the bio, which we're going to talk a lot about. But when you have to work to get that traffic, they want to be there. You've already earned that click and they stay and they convert. So your bounce rate is virtually zero from Instagram, and no other social media platform can tout that same type of metric. So it is high quality traffic. You may not always get as much traffic from Instagram, but you will get incredibly good quality traffic from Instagram. Another reason I love it, one of the strongest community building tools for your brand. Now, when it comes to being in the real estate space, the actual window where someone wants to buy and sell a house is pretty small, right? And we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but it's a very small, narrow window. So we want to be building relationships that maybe take 3 years until that person is ready to buy or sell. But as Instagram is built, the way that it drives this community engagement, the way that when you reply to a story, it opens up a direct message, all of these things foster relationships. And that's one of the things that, again, all platforms have some form of community building, aspect to them, and Facebook groups and even TikTok, you can build a community. But Instagram has always been very unique in that way. And it's one of the strongest community building tools out there, in my opinion. And it gives you such a great way to connect with your audience and build that relationship of trust that when they are ready to buy, you're the person that they're thinking of. Also, Instagram has some of the highest engagement rates for all social media. They are beat only by TikTok, and there's no accurate reflection on what engagement looks like on TikTok because there's been no significant studies, and it's such an odd way to measure interactions on that platform compared to some other platforms. But TikTok has an average engagement rate somewhere in the, let's say, 10 to 30%. It's a very vague number depending on the studies you look at. Some studies even have it higher than that. Instagram currently has an average engagement of, drumroll please, about 1%. Now, engagement at 1% does not sound great. But it is. It's actually exponentially higher than everybody else. And engagement would be if you take your comments and your likes divided by total followers. So if you had 100 likes and comments and you had 1,000 followers, you would have a 10% engagement rate. So 1% is the average, and that's across all accounts. Now that's some inactive accounts, really big accounts, really small accounts, and everything in between. But the average engagement rate on Facebook is 0.1%. And on Twitter, it's 0.017%. So at 1%, Instagram is actually significantly higher. And most small businesses, most people in the real estate space are getting closer to double-digit engagement. So somewhere in that 8 to 10% range is perfectly normal. Anything above that, you're doing great when it comes to engagement. So just keep that in mind as you are working and looking at your Instagram and your social media going forward. All right, so now that we kind of got that out of the way and talked a little bit about why I love Instagram so much, and I hope that after the next couple of days, you'll learn to love Instagram almost as much as I do, especially being in the real estate space. There's so much potential. So let's talk about optimizing your profile. We're going to talk about the things you can do on your actual profile, not the content yet, but just your profile itself, so that you're setting it up to do all of the work for you. There are 5 key areas that you want to look at on your profile. So the first one's going to be your name and your username. If you look at this screenshot on the slide, the username is what is up at the very top. So it's her name, all is one, and that normally would be the kind of @ symbol. And I'm probably going to butcher her name, but Tayanaka, so Rita Tayanaka is her username. When you go down just below the profile photo, you see the bold text, and that's her name spelled out as separate words, separate names. That is the name field. Once your username has been assigned, you really do not want to change that. That's also your URL, instagram.com/your username. So if you change your username, you change that URL and you lose any backlinks you had at any point to that previous mention. But the name field, you can change anytime. You can change that as much as you want. Now, Rita doesn't have this in hers here, but I often recommend that you put in some sort of keyword. You could put real estate, realtor. You could even put, if you are in a certain area that you serve, in Orange County, whether it's like Newport or Dana Point or whatever it is, you could put that in there for geographical reference as well. But you want to put something in there that is going to augment what it is you do or the areas that you serve in the real estate space. So, and again, you can change that. If you're working at, different areas, or you move to a different location, or if you have a seasonal reason to change it out, maybe you do something with rentals and either short or long-term rentals, seasonal rentals. You could have that in there as a keyword. The second thing you want to look at is your profile photo. Now, your profile photo should be you. So this is you. You are the person they're going to see when they show up to an open house. You're the person they're going to see when they come into your office to do any paperwork. We want to see your face. We want to get as close to your face as possible, not you standing, 6 miles away from the camera. And not a lot of people. If you are a partner with one other person, you can do 2 faces in a profile photo. That's perfectly fine, but not your team, not 12 people standing outside the front of a building. Because if you've ever noticed on Instagram, that profile photo, when you're scrolling through like the feed and everything, it's super, super tiny. It's like 1/4 of an inch in diameter. It's not a big profile photo. And so you lose a lot of context. If you wanted to use your logo, which a lot of real estate professionals do as well, you're absolutely totally okay to do that. Especially if you're more in an agency space, I get that. You just want to make sure that if you have, like, let's say, if your logo was, a sail from a sailboat and a bunch of text, crop out the text and have just the sail, like the actual sailboat sail, have just that as the logo. Because again, that text, when it gets shrunk down, it's illegible. No one's going to see it anyways. So having it just be a good, clear aspect of your logo can definitely help. And that does bring in the branding and the recognition as well. Now, the bio description is probably one of the most important things that you can do on Instagram. This is your 30-second elevator pitch. This is for first-time visitors. Once someone is following you, they're probably never going to read your profile again. They may come to your profile and look at your content, but they're probably never really going to read that description again. So we're writing this for first-time visitors, for those people who are going to come over because they found you in search or someone shared your post with them or something, and they're going to come over. We want this to tell them who you are, what you do, and what's in it for them. We're going to talk a lot more about this on the next slide, so I'm not going to dive in any further here, but I promise you this is super important. We're going to dive in deeper. The other thing you want to look at is your URL. You only have one clickable URL on Instagram, unless you're putting something like in your Instagram stories and you can put some links in there, but on your profile, on your feed, all that, you only have one URL. And that's right here in that bio. So we want to make sure that you're putting that there. Now, a lot of people, including Rita, will do this to your homepage. That's okay. If you are generally sending people to your website and they can access anything from your homepage, that's perfectly fine. We're going to talk about another alternative to that in a minute as well. And then you have your contact info. This is super important. We want people to be able to connect with you. So you can see there's the contact button, and there you can set up call, text, email, or get directions. If you have a physical location, for your real estate office, your agency, you can put your actual address in there if you want to. That's perfectly fine. If you don't want people to show up in your address, don't put it in there. And if you don't want people to call you out of the blue, then don't put your phone number in there. But a lot of people do. So you can absolutely put your phone number for text or call, or you can have the email option there so they can send you emails. Either way, we want to make sure you have contact information set up so they can get a hold of you. We all know how important that is in the real estate space. So make sure you've got that optimized. Okay, so let's dive a little bit deeper into that profile bio description. So like I said, there's going to be 3 key things that you want to have in that profile description: who you are, what you do, and what's in it for them. So this is an example. This is from a leasing an apartment complex, but it's same kind of idea. So in this case, they've got the who you are. They're a new luxury student living property, or they were new. This is a bit of an older screenshot, but so they're telling you that's who they are. They're a luxury student living property. What they do, they're currently taking leases for this time frame. And then they have the what's in it for them. Now, again, think of this as your target audience, the people who are coming here for the first time to look at your content. What's in it for them? Well, there's a rooftop pool. Yay, that sounds great. And less than 300 steps to UT campus. Now, we all remember our college days, and we all know we stayed up a little too late, whether that was studying or doing something else. And every ounce of sleep was that much more valuable, right? So the closer you are to campus, the later you could sleep in the morning. So that is a value add statement that says, oh, that's something that matters to me. So that's an example of a what's in it for them. It can also be something like a simple call to action that says, if you do, if you've got, a little survey where people can find out their home value, you could say, find your home value and have a down arrow, and that would go to the link that would take them to, that option to do that. So it could be a value add statement or a direction, a call to action for something. But we want to give them those 3 areas so that when they come to your profile for the first time, they know exactly who you are. They know what you do, and they know why they want to follow you. Why would they, be interested in your profile, your account, your business? So those are the 3 key things that we want to make sure you have in your profile. Also, probably don't want to write your own. This sounds like silly advice, but we're horrible at writing our own profiles. I didn't write mine. I've edited mine, but I did not write mine. I had somebody else write mine because we're never really good at writing about ourselves. So you could ask colleagues, friends, clients, if they could describe, working with you in 3 words, if they could describe your brand in 2 words, what would they be? And grab some feedback, get some ideas from how other people perceive your brand and how you, interact. And then maybe ask somebody else in your office. Say, if you could write a profile description for me for Instagram, you have 150 characters, what would you write? And see if you can get 2 or 3 people to participate. And then you can kind of pick and choose from that capacity to write your profile description. It's so much better that way because it tends to be a more accurate reflection of what we do. And it takes the onus off of you to try to over explain who you are, what you do, and what's in it for them. So that's a fun little homework assignment for you guys for this session today, is to go look at your profile description, see how you can clean that up by making it a better reflection of who you are, what you do, and what's in it for them. All right, so just one other thing to think about when you're writing that profile description, always put the most important part of that up front. So you can see the image on the left is truncated. It's cut off at ... more right above where you see my link, my URL for my website. So if someone was to come to this, and if I had written this the other way, if I had said mom to mini fashionista, high heel wearing, Instagram loving, straight talking, globally recognized expert, where it's cut off, you would see that I'm a mom to mini fashionista, I wear high heels, and I love Instagram. You would think I was about fashion. You would not think that I taught Instagram marketing based on that profile. And yes, regardless of how you see it, people will see it cut off. So we want to write this with something about, that kind of preliminary statement that, you're a leading real estate agent in Newport Beach, whatever it is, put that kind of key statement as the very first bullet point, and then add in the additional pieces after that add to your credibility, that add to your personality. Remember, it's Instagram. We want to have fun. We want to mix in some of these fun things about who you are as a person, not just the professional achievements that you've gotten as a real estate professional. We actually want to add in a little bit of your personality because that's what people connect with. So the link in bio, I mentioned this. You have that one clickable link on your URL or on your Instagram profile that's going to take you to the website. Now, a lot of people will put their homepage on there. I typically don't recommend that because I always say it's kind of like if you go into a department store, let's say you walk into Nordstrom's and you see the most amazing outfit on the mannequin, and the shirt is somewhere on the 3rd floor, the pants are somewhere on the 2nd floor, the shoes are nowhere to be found, the belt is down on the 1st floor. If you can't find the pieces, you're going to leave the store empty-handed. But if instead you walked in and saw that mannequin and that fabulous outfit, and right next to the mannequin was everything you needed, you would grab all your sizes, go to the changing room, come out and purchase, and you would have spent a lot more money, right? So the link in bio to the homepage is very much the same thing. If you're sending people to your homepage on your website, you're kind of sending them on a wild goose chase. They kind of have to figure it out for themselves. If you're saying, sign up for this, newsletter, and they're like, okay, well, I'm on the homepage. Where's the newsletter? If you're saying, check out all our MLM listings, or the MLS listings, and you go and, well, okay, I guess I can navigate over here. but they have to do that much more work. And we want to make it as easy as possible on them. So there are a lot of tools out there called things like Link in Bio, Linktree, and a lot of various other solutions that do the same thing. But what I want you to do is create this for yourself. If you have your own website, this is super easy to do. You can have your web designer build a single page. You can probably even do it yourself if you do any web editing on your own website. If you go to my profile at JENNS_trends and click on the link, you will go to my landing page. You will see on that landing page, there's about 6 options you can choose from. There are no pop-ups. There are no distractions. There's nothing going across the screen. It's super slick, super simple, just the options that I typically normally would promote on Instagram. So something like checking out my YouTube videos, signing up for my membership, signing up for my newsletter, working with me, any of those sorts of things. So we want to keep it to about 5, give or take, options. We don't want this to be a Cheesecake Factory menu with, 8,000 options on it. Keep it super simple, but then have that so that they can navigate to any of the things you would normally have them go to, checking out the listings, signing up for your newsletter, open house upcoming list, any of those sorts of things. We want to format it for mobile access. We want it to be mobile optimized, nothing popping up on the screen. And then you can also go in and customize it, change those out if you need to. Some people use photos, some people just use buttons. It's entirely up to you how you want to format it. But why this is so important is that, one, you own all the traffic. If you're doing something like Link in Bio or Linktree, you're relying on a third-party tool for traffic to your website. So they're intercepting all your traffic. If someone gets there and decides they don't want to do it and they leave, you never get the actual traffic. Or if that site goes down, which has happened, you don't have, that bridge has been severed. They can't get to your website. So you're losing potential traffic. So that alone is reason enough. But on top of it, if you're sending everybody to your website as the destination, so when people click on that link and they land on my website and they go decide what button they're going to choose, 2 things happen. 1, my Google Analytics will tell me, I can go in and see, oh, most people are going to look at the blog, or most people are going to go sign up for the newsletter. And I can look and see, based on that website traffic, how most people interact when they come over from Instagram, meaning I can better direct my calls to action to serve the audience. But the second reason is I can retarget all of them. If you have your Facebook pixel on your website or on that page, depending on how you have your pixel set up, but if you have your Facebook pixel on there, you can now retarget every one of those visitors, even if they literally don't do anything. If they just go to that page and go, no, and they leave, you still own that traffic, you can retarget them with your Facebook and Instagram ads. So it's another way to hold on to that traffic and benefit yourself in the long run. So definitely want to look into that. If it's not something you're currently doing, look and see if this is something you can coordinate on your website. It's an incredibly valuable tool that will help you in the long run. A couple extra things you can think about when it comes to your profile. Highlights, those are those circles between the kind of profile, and then it has edit profile, add tools, and then there's the bubbles, and then you go into my grid. So those bubbles are highlights. Those are from archived old Instagram stories that I've put in there. So if you have, these are great for any current listings. You can keep that up to date with a current listings tab, and everything that's current you put in there. And then when something goes off market or gets sold or whatever, you remove it out. So they can have a literal highlight of current listings that are available. You can have it for a meet the team. You can have it for, anything related to going on, whether it's in your office, your agency, any of that sort of stuff, kind of, behind the scenes, giving people a better understanding of who you are, what it's like to work with you. So there's lots of things you can do with that. Instagram Reels are obviously a big deal, and we're going to talk more about that in the coming days. Instagram guides, if you look at that bar of icons right above my 3 images, there's the grid, there's the reel, there's the video that's no longer there. Actually, Reels and video have merged, but there's that one that looks like a newspaper, that's guides. And that's something where you can actually put everything, again, it's just like Instagram story highlights, but it's for feed posts. So you can actually create a guide for current listings or currently available properties, something like that. So you could actually put things into a categorized group so they don't have to scroll through your feed to figure it out. Everything would be there. And then pinned posts is a relatively new feature, which I am super freaking excited about. And you can see those first 2 have the little thumbtack icon. That's because they're pinned. It means it took them out of the spot on the grid and it moved them to the top. So I have typically 3 pinned there. I usually have one that's something, a reel that I've done that it's a relatively popular topic. The one that's Are You Ready? Is talking about my membership program. And then I usually have another one, a variety of whatever I kind of want to mix in and have up there that people can reference. This is great for, again, when people are first coming to your profile, they're literal first time visitors. They don't like, if you saw these posts, you'd be like, okay, well, that's interesting, but they're kind of buried down. Someone has to go looking to see a meet the team. Let me introduce myself, any of those sorts of things. It's hard to find, but if you had that as one of your pinned posts, which is a meet you, kind of a behind the scenes, get to know the team, that sort of stuff, you're immediately giving it to them as a resource. It's very helpful for those first time visitors. And then if you have something that's a popular post or a super timely, relevant resource, like right now we're in that fall season in Southern California where it's still summer, but we're going to pretend it's fall. I put all my pumpkins out last night. Yeah, still 80 degrees today. Right. But you might have that resource and you might have something related to that and you could pin that. So if someone came in, they could find that seasonal content. Those sorts of things are great for those first time visitors as well. All right. So now we've got your profile. We spent a lot of time on that because it's so important. I really need you to make sure that you're committing the resources to get that profile optimized, because if you do that, everything else that we're talking about works so much easier and smoother. So now we're going to talk about optimizing for search. We're going to talk a little bit about content, a little bit about your profile and how to optimize for search, because now on Instagram, we have keyword search. So keyword search is slowly going to replace hashtag searches. We still need hashtags, and don't worry, we're going to talk about hashtags a ton over the next couple of days. But they're moving towards a keyword search finally after all these years, where you can now go into Instagram, go to search, and you can type in a keyword or two. Simple phrases only. Okay, we're not going to type in houses for sale in Dana Point. No. That is not going to happen. That's a long tail search word that Instagram is not capable of. It's not Google yet. So instead you'd want to say like maybe something like Orange County real estate, Orange County homes. Maybe that would be a little bit better, or even OC homes, something like that. But it's still going to be difficult to optimize for those things because those are going to typically be longer phrases. But go into search and start searching for those things. What do you think your target audience is looking for when they're going on there? Are they looking for things related to specific geographical regions? Are they looking at Orange County? Or are they looking for the smaller communities? Are they looking for things related to beach homes versus are they looking for something that's more in certain school districts? Start thinking about that and start pumping in searches into Instagram and just see what populates, see what produces results, and then see who is ranking. We're going to want to do a little bit of research so we can optimize your content accordingly. So when you type in here's an example where I searched for kids crafts. So a simple, easy word. It's going to look at 3 criteria to determine what to populate in that search. The first thing is that profile description. All that stuff that we just talked about, that whole 150 characters, it is looking at that profile description. So we want to make sure that you have the words real estate, realtor, anything related to that. You want that in your profile description. We also want to make sure that you have in there the geographical area in which you serve. Obviously, someone looking at an RSM is going to have a different budget, a different lifestyle than somebody who's looking for something, closer to Seal Beach. And those sorts of areas. So there's going to be differences that you want to make sure that you're highlighting when you're putting that information in your profile description. It's also going to help with the keyword search. Your post captions, it's going to go look at all of your content and it's going to look at those post captions to see what you say in the captions to determine if that piece of content is relevant to the search. And it's going to look at your hashtags. So hashtags still matter because hashtags are telling Instagram what categories and topics your content is about and how to populate it in search. So that when you do type in something like kids crafts, you get all of these results. So how do we optimize for that? Here is what Instagram is scraping for data. So here's an example from that exact same search. I searched for kids crafts. This image in the middle is the caption for the photo, the right-hand photo in the profile there. You can see the red kind of stitching project that she had done. This is that post. So you can see in the caption, she had these little hands, handcraft, my kids, handmade gift. This all talks related to crafting, kids, children. There's things like little hands, all that. The AI is smart enough to start to make that correlation. Then she has the hashtags, crafts for kids, kids Christmas crafts, kids crafts. So in the hashtags, she has told Instagram, this content is about kids crafts. You also look at her profile. She's got mama, which again, the algorithm is smart enough to figure out that if it says mama, there's probably some relation to children. And then she has the word crafts. So this is optimized and was a top search result because A, her profile said this is what she talks about. So she regularly talks about crafts and kids. B, her caption talks about crafts and kids. So clearly that piece of content is related to it. And C, hashtags are telling them as well in a deep dive through essential keywords, including the actual keyword I searched for, which was kids crafts. Those hashtags are in there telling Instagram this piece of content is related to that, and that's a high quality search. So again, when it comes to real estate, we want to think about what is your audience potentially looking for? Are they looking for a dream kitchen? Are they looking for waterfront? Are they looking for ocean views? Are they looking for something related to, again, a school district or those sorts of things? Now, again, a lot of people aren't going to go to Instagram and start searching school districts. I get that. But if they're looking for something for kids activities, if they're looking for something related to maybe even teenage kids, they're looking for sports and things like that are in those areas where you serve, that's your target audience. Even if they're not specifically looking for those actual houses or in that specific search, they're still looking for things that are related to that target audience in that area. So we want to make sure that we're hyper targeting that geographical area, that we're talking about being, real estate, community oriented, any of those sorts of things that are going to help you rank in those searches. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about content and creating that more attractive content for search. We want to optimize our content so that it looks good, so that it gets seen, so that people react to it, and it drives those results that we're looking for. And we're going to talk more about content, obviously, the next couple of days as well. But this is a super, super technical term. We want to make it Instagrammy. Super easy, right? Oh, Jen just said make it Instagrammy. Yep, we can do that. How do we do this? What does it look like? Well, it's going to include being a little bit different, thinking outside the box. So for example, this image here on the screen is a beautiful photo of the backyard, the sunset, the palm trees, the light strung across the yard, but it's taken from a unique perspective. That's either maybe like a second floor, bedroom or balcony or something. It's not taken from down on the ground, sitting pool level, where you wouldn't have got the same impact of the sky, the mountains in the background, the view over the canyon below. You wouldn't have gotten that. So by changing her literal elevation, she got a completely different perspective and a different type of photo. Keep that in mind. I always tell people, if you can take your camera and put it right down against the edge of the countertop, or if you've got like long hardwood floor panels, put your phone right down, like even turn it upside down so the camera is literally on the floor, and shoot the length of the hallway. It's going to get this long linear line. It just changes the whole perspective, and it gives them a more artistic, a more unique feel to the image that is very Instagrammy. That's what gets people's attention. So focus on the features of the house, not just that standard front curb shot, yay, here's the photo. No, pick a specific feature, that master bath that is amazing, or the primary bath, that amazing chef's kitchen, the backyard, an amazing closet, whatever it is. Pick an image or two about a feature of the property, not trying to just do that overall, here's a photo of the front of the house. That's not going to sell the house. Something like this gets people emotionally connected. And they like, I have no idea what the inside of that house looks like, but I'm telling you, I want to go look at it because I want that backyard, right? That gets people incentivized without any other component. It's an emotional reaction. Look to make it colorful. Colorful helps. Bold colors. Again, here you got the blues, the pinks, the purples, everything. It draws people's attention. Play with those angles. Like I said, getting down low, changing the perspective, and pick the best features of the property to showcase. When you're writing your captions, again, we want to think about obviously that search component, but we also want to think about creating an emotional connection. So again, people connect with things that make them feel a certain way. They want to feel happy. They want to feel luxurious. They want to feel invited. And so here's an example from Dudum Real Estate for a property they had tucked at the end of a quiet court. This home is the epitome of luxury and location. Features include a chef's kitchen with large center island and walk-in pantry, a beautiful owner's suite with gas fireplace, and a stunning backyard oasis. Relax in your outdoor living space while looking at the saltwater pool, bocce court, sport court, and outdoor kitchen. So they talk about luxury, then they showcase, like, it's got all these luxurious components. They talk about that backyard oasis. Now, we all understand in real estate, we'll call things cozy, we all have those kind of code words, but this is a good, it's not a fluffy description. It's not just trying to sell a bunch of fluff. It's legitimate descriptions, but it's in a way that is very luxurious sounding and has very emotive words like that oasis and the owner's suite and things that make you go, oh, that sounds really lovely. I kind of want to go check it out. So again, think about how you can pull into the emotions when you're writing the captions, not just bullet point listing out, here's the 8 things this property has, and here's the price, and here's. No, we don't bullet point lists in that way. Unless you're making your bullet points about the different features and still writing them like a backyard oasis. So think about that when you're creating those captions. Things you can do to help get additional value in your content is providing decor tips and advice. This is a great way to drive up engagement. This is a great way to keep people interacting and staying with you long-term. We'll talk more about building those relationships, but this is something you want to serve people at all stages of their buying and selling journey, even if they're not ready to buy or sell. Tips like this are the ability to do that. It gives you a capacity to put this content out there that they want, that they need. They want to know what's on trend. Maybe they're looking to renovate their kitchen or their bathrooms or something. And so if you're giving them tips and advice, they can use that. That keeps you top of mind. That keeps you relevant. If you can give them tips on how to do it themselves or, who to hire, those sorts of things, people love that information and it's relevant at all times, even if they're not ready to buy or sell. And if they're interacting with your content now, it keeps you in their feed. So when they are ready, you're the one they go to. Similarly, share those helpful tips, recommend local companies. So in this case, Michelle had, given advice here for their week's Fix It Up Friday. She talks how to go through and work with an organizer to organize your home, your closets, your personal spaces, that sort of thing. The one on the right, she's giving recommendations and how to hire someone to help you with your backyard. Things you can do. She's like, get a pressure sprayer, a can of spray paint. So you could give recommendations for local plumbers. If there's somebody you work with, people are like, oh, yes, I need a plumber. Thank you for a referral. That's great. As long as it's somebody you've worked with and actually, want to refer out, or providing those sorts of things. Again, we're going into different seasonal, getting those, helpful tips on how to pick up, decor for your backyard as we change the seasons, or how to, change out your like your holiday decor when at the end of the season, taking down the lights, getting, all the stuff put away. Here's how to store it. There's so many things that you can do to provide those types of resources that make people want to stay. Provide education. So people don't know what they don't know. Is your target audience going to be those first-time home buyers? They have a million questions. They don't know where to get started. So give them that type of information. Is your target audience those who are downsizing as empty nesters? Their kids have left the house, they're all off college, and now they're like, well, we want to downsize. Are they moving from, a beautiful single family home into more of an apartment or a condo? And they're not used to dealing with, an HOA in a condo versus, what they probably dealt with in the family community. There's all these differences, and these are types of education that you can provide that, again, highly shareable, highly valuable. People love this kind of content because it keeps them informed. It also sets you up as an expert. They know if I have a question, I can go to you and you've got the answer for me. And if that's what their mindset is, you are the person they're going to go to. So it builds this relationship over time while supporting your audience and giving them what they need. So they're going to come to you when they're ready. Oops. Speaking of seasonal content, pumpkins. I just brought all my pumpkins home last night. We were at the pumpkin patch yesterday and I spent like $150 on pumpkins, like I do every year. And I do my whole front entryway. And it was kind of funny because my boyfriend was like, but you're not going to carve any of those. And I was like, no, I'm not carving any of them. I'm like, it's Southern California. We don't carve pumpkins. And he lives here, but he's kind of more beachy, community where it's a little bit cooler and they can carve their pumpkins a week in advance. I'm inland. Those of you out in the inland areas, we can't carve pumpkins. Even the coast, it's a little bit questionable. It's still 90 degrees in Halloween, right? So if we carve our pumpkins a week in advance, they're molted and wilted and falling in on themselves within a day or two, and they never make it to Halloween. So this was a post from Morgan. She's a real estate agent here in San Diego, and she had all these tips for how to make your pumpkins last longer after you carve them. So this is, again, it's that resource, it's that tip, but this is highly shareable content because this is totally relevant and timely. This is the kind of thing that it's like, yes, absolutely. I share that to my stories. I tell my friends. I've used this in my presentations a billion times. This is shareable content. Shareable content gets new eyes on your content. So I take this post from Morgan, I share it to my audience. People tap on the post to go back. Now they're back on hers. They're reading it. They're like, oh, look at her. Oh, she's all this other great content. Oh, look at her profile that we just talked about optimizing. This looks great. Follow. So this builds that momentum when you create that educational resource tip-based information. And then when that becomes shareable, that's how you start to build your audience. That's how you start to bring people in and you build that network of trust over time. Again, it's not an overnight success story, but this allows you to start to build that profile that is everything is optimized on top of itself so that you can build that audience and then build that website traffic and everything else. All right, so to finish up, I just want to talk about all these things we talked about today, a little bit about the content and all that sort of stuff. I really want to remind you, and we're going to talk more about content in the coming days, that when you are looking at your Instagram content strategy, we want to make it your own. This is part of optimizing. It's part of putting everything in place that you have what you need when you need it. And that comes with making it your own, getting your own content, not relying on stock images, not relying on someone else to grab a photo for you, but already having this all in place. So I want you to look at creating archives of your own images. Have your phone handy. Like literally you go out to dinner, have your phone in your hand and get in the habit of taking lots of photos. Then I want you to create folders in your phone or in a Dropbox or something like that for all these different categories. So when you're out there taking photos, you can then go to your camera roll and say, put it here, or just save it to your Dropbox and sort them when you get them there. So the next time you need a photo of that, you're like, oh, remember like a month ago when we went out to dinner? Yeah, I have that photo. And you're not trying to Google and find something, but you've got your own photo that you took. You own the copyright to it, but it's on brand. It's your aesthetic, it's your style. And you can use that in a better storytelling way because you took that photo. So some of the things you can do, take photos of flowers and trees in each season. So again, springtime with everything in bloom versus fall. If you want something that's, you're prepping your content, you're talking about, that transition into winter, that sort of thing, even though we don't really get winter, but you know what I mean? Things still look different. You've got photos of that. Rain on the windows or sun flares. So for example, today it's sunny and gorgeous, but what if I wanted to make a post about rainy days? Well, where am I going to get a rainy day photo? I'd have to go Google it. But if the last time it had rained, I'd taken a bunch of photos of rain on my windshield or rain on my windows at home, or, even just the cloudy skies over the top of a house, I would have an image I could pull to talk about a rainy day fund or something like that, where I wanted to tie in the concept of rain. Buildings and architecture. If you're walking down through, different communities and there's beautiful architecture, the old missions down in San Juan Capistrano and those sorts of areas that can be fun to talk to. If there's brand new construction going up for something and it's got, very modern styles, take some photos of that. These are all things that you can use. You own the rights to those photos. Home repairs and upgrades, whether you're working on a property that's being remodeled, you're remodeling your own, your friend is remodeling theirs, grab some photos of what it's like to go through a remodel, have those things in there, any of those repairs and different steps. So again, you can start capturing all of these things. And again, we talked about, doing those unique Instagram-y photos and properties. When you're in there and you get those long linear lines of the flooring or a beautiful spiral staircase, or again, start grabbing seasonal content, grab all the Halloween photos and things now. Then at Christmas, start grabbing all the things related to the Christmas trees and all the Christmas decor and all the things, even just in the community, not just in the houses that you're either staging or working with. But now you've got all those for next year and then the year after that, where you have content in advance of the holiday to be able to start using in your marketing. So that's my advice to you, to just keep that phone handy, get in the habit of doing it. It takes a little switch in brain power to be like, oh yeah, that's pretty, take a photo of it. And your kids and spouse may give you a hard time for a hot minute, but they'll get over it. It's fine. And then other things you can do while you're on the go, when you're out there grabbing content, you're busy, you're like, Jen, this sounds great, but I don't have time to take photos and do all these things. Like I said, just do it when you're on the go. When you're doing property tours, just grab photos. When you're getting ready for an open house, go around and take photos before everybody gets in there. There's updates on local developments or activities. Again, new construction going up. Are they doing renovations on a local park? Is there a parade coming up? Whatever it is, you can grab that kind of content while you're sitting in the line at Starbucks and be sharing that out, grabbing a photo, writing up a quick caption, any of that sort of stuff. Quick tips on decor or trends. You can do that. If you have somebody to help, a VA or, assistant or somebody in your office, that's great. But those are things you can do quickly as well. Spur of the moment. You're in you could be walking through, a home store and be like, oh yeah, I really like that. Snap a photo of that and talk about why that's a great on trend and be able to share that content. Answering commonly asked questions. You are the expert in your industry. You have the ability to answer those questions and provide that resource, that value add. You can create that in a really quick Instagram reel, Instagram story. You can just literally record yourself answering a commonly asked question. Boom, you're good to go. Upload. Behind the scenes as an agent, you can, again, create a reel of what day in life, a day in the life of your job is like how you get started in the day, getting kids off to school, getting into the office. You got a couple showings, a couple meetings, dinner, and then crashing on the couch with a glass of wine. Like that could be a behind the scenes reel that you create. And again, that's stuff that you can create. No one else can really create that for you. And of course, your personal life to a point. We don't want to give away everything about our families. But again, connecting with a real estate professional is a very personal investment. You're working very closely with these people. So they want to know what your life is like. And they want to see, do you have kids? What do you do on the weekends? Where do you travel? Again, you don't have to give them everything, but just give them little snippets of that and share a little bit of your personal life so that they get a better understanding of what it's like to work with you, to communicate with you, the kind of person you are. Are you the kind of person that goes mountain biking on the weekends? Are you the kind of person that likes to, are you a resortist? Are you jumping out of airplanes, running marathons? What are the things that motivate you, inspire you, and keep you going? That's what people connect with. And so that's the kind of content that, again, you can grab. You can do this on the go. These are things that you can create in between meetings or sitting on the couch. These are the things that you can create and that no one else can be you. So take that time to create that content for yourself. Here's a quick example of what that looks like. A couple of these examples. So in this case, we had Ricky, the realtor over here. This is a video that he did and he went through, and it's actually a very shaky video. It's not super high quality, but he's going through and talking about this type of architecture and the type of home. And it's really just informational, but you can sense his excitement and his passion as he's talking about it. It's just a really fun thing that, again, no one else could do this the way that he did it. It was very unique to himself. So that's you have your passions. There's things that get you excited about real estate. I get excited about Instagram and people think I'm crazy, but you have your levels of excitement, and let that come through with some videos where people can hear your voice. And then this one over here, Andrew Lynn Holmes. Andrew is, he's talking here about the LGBTQ housing policy symposium that he attended and all this, and he's tying in that kind of community involvement, something that's personal to him. And again, it's a way of showcasing a little bit more about himself. It's still business related, but it's letting his personality and his personal life shine through a little bit. So there's all these little unique ways that you can create content that is uniquely you and special to you, that brings people in. That's what attracts people to want to follow you, to want to stay involved with you, to want to work with you when the time has come for them to buy or sell. Because when you optimize your Instagram profile, all the things we talked about today, all the way from, setting up that profile, getting that description, going through and optimizing for search, which is super important, and focusing on creating content that is optimized for better engagement, more results for driving followers, website traffic, all that sort of stuff. When you optimize your Instagram profile for success, you drive optimal results and traffic in the long run. And that is what I'm here to help you with. That is why we need to learn all these things. We will spend the next couple of days talking about so much more. This was getting all those foundations in place so we can build on that over the next 2 days. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I do want to remind you, you can connect with me pretty much everywhere around the web as Jen's Trends. It's Jen with two N's. I'm on Instagram at JENNS_trends, pretty much everywhere else, that username as well. I have a free Facebook group. If you go to Facebook and search Jen's Trends in social media, you can join that Facebook group. There's a lot of other real estate professionals in there as well. And it's just a free for all space. You can ask any questions related to social media. I share a lot of news related to Instagram and social media updates and things like that there. And then I have other resources here. If you want to join my membership, I have a real estate course just for Instagram for real estate, my books, which are all Instagram for dummies related books. You can grab any of those there. And if you want to grab a quick scan of that QR code, that's going to sign you up for my free newsletter. On the first Wednesday of every month, I send out a newsletter with all the Instagram updates. So you can stay on top of everything related to Instagram. We had 10 updates in September. I think we had like 18 back in August, but I break all those down as well as all the other social media news and updates. It's one giant resource the first Wednesday of every month that gives you pretty much everything you need to know in the world of Instagram and social media. So you can feel free to scan that and sign up for that newsletter. That would be awesome. I would love to have you on the list. And I promise not to spam you. I literally only send like one email a month. That's about it. So I won't infiltrate your inbox too much. All right, I'm gonna leave this up here for just a second while I pop open the chat and just see if there's any questions. If you have any questions you want, either drop them in the chat, or since we're in kind of just a normal meeting style, if you want to come off camera, off mute and ask your questions, I am here to participate and answer those questions for you. It looks like, oh, and as a reminder, you will get a copy of these slides. Elsie and Cassie have got all of those, and they will send you the recording and the slides. So you'll have those for reference back for anything that we talked about today as well. And so Nima said, do you have any YouTube videos? I do have a YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube and just search Jen's Trends, or go to youtube.com/JENNS_trends, I do have a bunch of YouTube videos up there. They cover a lot of like normal kind of popular topics. There's a lot of things on there. They're usually anywhere from like a 5 to 10 minute video answering most commonly asked questions. You can also go to my Instagram account, and I have a number of reels on there as well. If you go to the reels, the video tab, I have a bunch of reels on there, and I'm going to be recording another one probably today. We'll see. But those break down a lot of other frequently asked questions, current events in the Instagram world, and things like that. So lots of resources for you, Nima, that you can grab at any point if you want. And then you can always go to jenstrends.com/blog. And I have a lot of blog posts that answer a lot of commonly asked questions as well. So anybody else, I'll give it just another second if anyone wants to pop one in there. And as a reminder, as I'm waiting to see if anyone else has any questions, we are meeting again tomorrow, same time, same place, different link, but same time. We'll be talking more about the content strategies and things like that. So prettier pictures to look at, more examples to dive deep into in terms of what you should be doing. We'll talk about reels, stories, feed posts, all of it. We'll do a deep dive into content tomorrow just to make sure that you have all the foundations from today to lead into that. And then we'll be talking more about website referral traffic, insights, and things like that on Wednesday. So lots more good stuff. I hope you all can join us again for those other 2 sessions. And if not, again, we'll have the replays available that you'll be able to get for that. So if there's no other questions, I will say thank you very much. I will stop sharing. And I will say thank you, everybody. It was great. Thanks, Elsie. Thanks, Cassie, for everything, for running everything on the back end and making sure everything runs smoothly. I appreciate you all, and we will see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Bye, everybody.